The doorbell rings at 3 in the morning. The Prime Minister of Greece walks down the hallway in his dressing gown, opens the door, and finds the Italian ambassador standing on his porch with a piece of paper. The paper says, "Surrender in 3 hours or face war." The Prime Minister reads it. He does not raise his voice. He answers in French, the language of European diplomacy, with 5 words. Alors, c'est la guerre. Then it is war. By dawn, 500,000 Italian shells will be falling on the Greek border. By Christmas, those shells will be falling the wrong way. And the dictator who ordered this attack, the man who told his foreign minister that this would be a parade march to Athens in 2 weeks, that dictator is about to learn that the smallest country in the war has just handed him the biggest humiliation of his life. October 1940. The map of Europe is being redrawn at a speed nobody has seen before. In 13 months, Adolf Hitler has erased Poland. He has taken Denmark, Norway, the Netherlands, Belgium, and France. The British have been chased into the sea at Dunkirk. The Wehrmacht has rewritten how war is fought, and most of the planet is watching with their mouths open. And in Rome, Benito Mussolini is watching too, and he is furious, because none of this is his. Mussolini built fascism. Hitler studied him, copied his speeches, copied his uniforms, copied his ceremonies. For most of the 1930s, Mussolini was the senior partner in the partnership of dictators. He was Il Duce, the older brother of European fascism, the one Hitler admired. But by 1940, the relationship has flipped. Hitler is winning the war. Mussolini's own armies have done almost nothing. Italy entered the war in June, after France had already collapsed. Mussolini's joke became famous in Berlin. He came in, they said, to be at the table when the meal was served. His invasion of southern France in those final weeks of June stalled in the Alps against a few exhausted French battalions. His campaign in North Africa is moving at the speed of a slow walk. The Italian army is large on paper, badly equipped in the field, and led by a high command that does not believe in its own mission. And Mussolini knows it. He needs a victory, not a shared victory, not a victory in someone else's campaign. He needs his victory, fast, clean, photographed, and impossible to attribute to Berlin. So he starts looking at the map. He looks at Yugoslavia. Hitler tells him no. The Balkans are a German interest. Leave them alone. He looks at Egypt. His generals tell him no, they are not ready. He looks at Greece. Greece is small. Greece is poor. Greece has a population of about 7 million, an army that has not fought a serious war since 1922, and a government run by a 69-year-old general called Ioannis Metaxas, a soft-spoken authoritarian who will, the Italians believe, fold at the first push. On October 4th, Mussolini meets Hitler at the Brenner Pass, the Alpine border crossing between Italy and Austria. Hitler tells him again to stay out of the Balkans. Mussolini smiles. Mussolini agrees. Mussolini lies. 8 days later, on October 12th, Mussolini is reading the morning papers in Rome when he learns, from the newspaper, that German troops have entered Romania. Hitler is securing the Romanian oil fields at Ploiești. He has not informed his Italian ally. Mussolini did not know. He turns to his foreign minister, his son-in-law Galeazzo Ciano, and says the line that Ciano will write down in his diary that very evening. The line that explains everything that follows. Hitler always faces me with a fait accompli. This time I am going to pay him back in his own coin. He will find out from the papers that I have occupied Greece. 3 days later, on October 15th, Mussolini calls a secret meeting in his office at the Palazzo Venezia. Around the table are his foreign minister Ciano, his chief of staff Marshal Pietro Badoglio, his Italian deputy commander Ubaldo Sodu, and a man named Sebastiano Visconti Prasca, the general who will lead the invasion. Visconti Prasca is a confident man. He has just published a book on military doctrine called La Guerra Decisiva, the Decisive War, which argues that bold offensive action wins everything. He stands up at that meeting, points at the map of Greece, and tells Mussolini that with 8 divisions, in 2 weeks, he can be in Athens. He calls the operation a parade march. Badoglio raises objections. Mussolini cuts him off. The decision is already made. The invasion is set for October 28th, a date Mussolini chose because it is the 18th anniversary of his march on Rome. 2 weeks, 8 divisions, a parade march. This is the war Italy is about to lose. The invasion. It is still dark when the Italian columns roll across the Albanian-Greek border. October 28, 1940, 5:30 in the morning. About 140,000 men, 163 tanks, more than 400 aircraft. The artillery opens up at first light. The first reports back to Rome are euphoric. The Greeks are falling back. The road is open. The propaganda machine in Rome publishes communiques the same morning, announcing victories that have not happened yet, but soon will. Except the Greeks are not collapsing. The Greeks are doing exactly what their commander told them to do. That commander is a quiet, methodical professional named Alexandros Papagos, a lieutenant general, an old monarchist, a man who has spent 4 years modernizing the Greek army in silence, while everyone in Europe was paying attention to other countries. Papagos has made one decision that the Italians have completely failed to understand. He has chosen not to defend the border. He has chosen to defend the mountains behind it. The terrain along the Albanian frontier is some of the worst in Europe. Steep limestone ridges, narrow valleys, single-track mule roads. In autumn, fog. In winter, snow that will arrive a month earlier than anyone in Rome has planned for. Papagos lets the Italians come into that terrain. He lets them stretch their supply lines. He lets them outrun their artillery. And then he waits. The Julia Division goes into Pindus. The hardest mission of the invasion is given to the elite of the Italian army, the Alpine Division, Julia. Their job is to drive deep through the Pindus mountain range, cut the road that runs east-west through the town of Metsovo, and split the Greek front in half. On paper, it is a beautiful plan. In reality, the Julia Division is climbing into a death trap. By the 3rd day, the men are above the snow line. By the 5th, they are in their summer uniforms in temperatures that are dropping below freezing every night. Their pack animals, mules, are dying in the trails. Their artillery is stuck behind them. Their food is running out, and the Greeks are not in front of them. The Greeks are above them, on every ridge. On November 4th, the snow starts. It does not stop. By November 8th, 2 Greek divisions have moved in behind the Julia and cut the road they marched in on. The Italian Alpine elite is now surrounded in a valley they cannot leave, in a snowstorm they did not pack for, fighting an enemy who knows every footpath in this country because their grandfathers were born on it. By November 13th, the Julia Division is being torn apart. They lose more than 5,000 men killed, wounded, or captured. They lose almost all their artillery. The survivors break out only because the Greeks let them. Papagos has bigger plans, and he does not want to spend ammunition finishing a unit that no longer matters. In Rome, the headlines are still announcing the parade to Athens. The Greek counterattack. On the morning of November 14th, Papagos gives the order he has been waiting 19 days to give. Greek troops attack along the entire front. This is not what is supposed to happen. This is not what the Italian war plan accounts for. This is not what any general staff in Europe expects from a country that, until 3 weeks ago, had no allies, an air force of 145 obsolete planes, and a population smaller than the city of London. But the Greeks are attacking uphill into the Italian positions, in the worst weather most of these men have ever seen, with mountain artillery dragged into firing positions on the backs of mules and on the backs of women. Yes, women. In the villages of Epirus, along the border, the Greek logistical chain runs through pack animals, and when the pack animals are dead, it runs through people. The women of those villages carry ammunition crates, food, medical supplies, sometimes wounded men, on their backs through mountain trails in sub-zero weather. They are not soldiers. They are mothers, daughters, widows. Their work has a name in Greek folk memory, the mules of Pindus. Without them, the offensive does not move. With them, It cannot be stopped. On November 22nd, the Greeks take the city of Korce in Albanian, 60 kilometers inside Albania. 3 days earlier, the Italian command had described Korce's defenses as impregnable. By December 6th, the Greeks have taken the port of Sarand. By December 8th, the historic city of Gjirokastar. By Christmas Eve, the coastal town of Himare. A Greek army has invaded Italian territory in a war that Italy started. The collapse of command. In Rome, Mussolini is firing generals. Visconti Prasca, the man who promised Athens in 2 weeks, is removed in November. Sadu, his replacement, is removed 5 weeks later. Some Italian historians later report that Sadu spent his evenings in the headquarters tent composing music for an opera. Pietro Badoglio, the chief of staff who privately warned Mussolini against the invasion in the first place, resigns in early December. 3 commanders in 3 months. None of them can stop the bleeding. And the bleeding has another shape, beyond the casualty lists. It has a temperature. Italian soldiers were sent into the Albanian mountains in summer field uniforms because Visconti Prasca had told Rome the campaign would be over before winter. They were not issued cold weather gear. They were not issued mountain boots. They were not issued tents that could survive an alpine storm. The result is the worst frostbite epidemic in Italian military history. By the time the campaign ends, more than 12,000 Italian soldiers will be permanently disabled by cold injury, feet amputated, fingers amputated, men who will never walk normally again. The army that was going to march into Athens in 2 weeks is, by January, digging holes in the snow to survive the night. The Spring Offensive. By February 1941, the front has stabilized. The Greeks have run out of momentum. They have stretched their supply lines, used up their reserves, lost too many men. The Italians have stopped retreating. Both sides are exhausted, and both sides know it. For Mussolini, this is intolerable. The world is watching. Hitler is watching. The British have started landing troops in Greek ports, small contingents, but the symbolism is devastating. Mussolini cannot accept a frozen front. Politically, he cannot survive one. So in March, he launches what he calls the Primavera, the Spring Offensive. This is going to be the operation that wipes out the embarrassment. He brings in fresh divisions. He concentrates 12 of them on a single 12-mile sector. He moves more artillery into Albania than the Italian army has used anywhere in the war. And he goes himself. Mussolini flies to the Albanian front on March 2, 1941. He sets up an observation post on Mount Komaret, where he can watch the offensive unfold through binoculars. He poses for photographers. He wears a uniform. The offensive begins on March 9th. Wave after wave of Italian infantry attacks the Greek positions in the Trebishina Massif. Greek artillery, dug into reverse slopes Papagos chose 6 months earlier, opens up at point-blank range. The Italians do not break through. They do not break through on the second day. They do not break through on the third. By March 15th, the offensive is dead. About 12,000 Italians have been killed or wounded in 7 days. The line has not moved. Mussolini boards his plane on March 21st and flies back to Rome in silence. He does not give speeches that week. Hitler intervenes. In Berlin, Hitler has been watching the Greek campaign for months with a particular kind of anger. The anger of an alliance partner who has been embarrassed by his own ally. He has already decided to intervene. On December 13, 1940, while the Greek counteroffensive was still rolling forward, Hitler had signed Directive No. 20, Operation Merida. It ordered the planning of a German invasion of Greece to bail Mussolini out of his catastrophe. But the timing is impossible. Operation Barbarossa, Hitler's invasion of the Soviet Union, has been scheduled for the middle of May 1941. Merida has to go before Barbarossa, because Hitler will not invade Russia with a hostile front in his Balkan rear. This is the moment in the war where Mussolini's vanity touches the calendar of history. Because Merida pushes Barbarossa back. Some of the delay is the Balkan campaign itself. Some of it is the spring rains that turn Russian roads into rivers regardless. Historians have argued for 80 years about how much of the delay can be blamed on Greece. But Hitler himself, in the last month of his life, dictated his political testament from the bunker in Berlin, and he said this in writing. If Italy, instead of embarking on this idiotic campaign in Greece, had merely employed her army to reinforce the defense of Egypt, the course of the war would have been different. He blamed Mussolini. The German blow. On April 6, 1941, the Wehrmacht crashes into Yugoslavia and Greece simultaneously. 28 German divisions, 2,000 aircraft. Operation Merida is everything the Italian invasion was not. Planned, supplied, professional, and fast. Yugoslavia collapses in 11 days. The Greeks fight harder. But most of the Greek army is still pinned in the Albanian mountains, where Papagos cannot move them without exposing his flank to the Italians, who are still, somehow, occupying that front. The Germans pour through the gap from the north. They come down the Vardar Valley. They cut behind the Greek lines. Within 2 weeks, there is no Greek strategic position left to defend. The surrender. On April 20, 1941, in the town of Larissa, the senior Greek field commander, General Georgios Tsolakoglou, meets with the Germans to surrender his army. He does not invite the Italians. He surrenders, formally, only to the Wehrmacht. The terms include a clause stating that the Greek soldiers will be released to return home as soon as possible, a courtesy from one professional army to another. The signing happens that afternoon. The Italians find out about it from German radio. Mussolini, in Rome, loses his composure. He demands that the surrender be revoked. He demands that the Greeks surrender to him too. He calls Berlin and threatens a diplomatic break. Hitler, who is preparing to invade the Soviet Union in less than 2 months and does not need a fight with his Italian ally, gives in. The surrender is rewritten. On April 23rd, it is signed again, this time with an Italian signature alongside the German one. The Greek officers in the room sign in protest. They have been forced to surrender, on paper, to a country whose army they have been beating in the mountains since November. This is the moment that defines the campaign. A German general had to make the Greeks surrender to Italy, because the Italians could not do it themselves. The Greek campaign ends on April 27, 1941, when the Wehrmacht enters Athens. By then, the Greco-Italian War has lasted 181 days. The numbers are these. Italy lost about 13,755 men killed, more than 50,000 wounded, and another 25,000 captured or missing. More than 12,000 of its soldiers were permanently disabled by cold injury. The Italian army never recovered its morale for the rest of the Second World War. Italian formations would surrender en masse to the Allies in North Africa, in Sicily, and in Italy itself, at rates higher than any other major belligerent. Something had broken in the Italian soldier in those mountains, and it never fully healed. Greece lost about 13,325 men killed and another 42,000 wounded in a campaign she did not start. Tens of thousands of Greek soldiers and civilians would die in the German occupation that followed. Famine would kill perhaps 300,000 Greeks in the winter of 1941–42 alone. But the cost beyond the casualty lists is harder to count. Operation Barbarossa, originally planned for the middle of May 1941, was launched on June 22nd, somewhere between 5 and 6 weeks late. Whether the Balkan campaign caused the entire delay, or only part of it, is a debate historians will probably never settle. What we know is what Hitler said. He blamed Mussolini. He said it in private during the war, and he said it in writing in the last week of his life. In Greece itself, October 28th has a different name now. It is called Ohi Day, No Day. The story of Metaxas's Alors, c'est la guerre was, over the years, translated by the Greek public into a single word, the word no. The word every Greek child learns to say first and loudest. It is a national holiday. Children march through the streets in school uniforms carrying flags. Old men salute. It is, quietly, the most important date on the Greek civic calendar. More important than independence, more important than constitution, more important than the founding of the Republic. Because October 28th is the day a small country said no to a dictator, and the dictator believed her own propaganda and walked into the mountains and never walked out again. Mussolini would survive his Greek disaster by 28 months. In July 1943, he would be deposed by his own fascist Grand Council, arrested, rescued by German commandos, installed as a puppet ruler in northern Italy, and finally caught by Italian partisans on the shores of Lake Como in April 1945. He would be shot, his body hung upside down in a public square in Milan, and photographed for the world. Every step of that fall traces back to a decision made in haste in a room in the Palazzo Venezia in October of 1940. A decision made not for strategy, not for safety, not for survival. A decision made for jealousy. The European war had many villains. None of them gave so many gifts to their enemies as Mussolini did, in those few cold hours when he picked up the phone and ordered the invasion of Greece.